Hi again, everyone. I'm olliemathews. This is Societal Narcissism. This video is sponsored by contribution from Teresa. Before I get to Teresa's video, please go to the description box and click on the Rumble link, as I'm still monetized over there, and it'll help out with the channel. Well, here it is, everybody. The Chasing Amy review. So let's just get right into it, shall we? Now, this movie starts off with the two main characters, Holden, played by Ben Affleck, and Banky, played by Jason Lee. They're comic book artists, and they've been friends since childhood. Holden is clearly the brains and the talent of the two. Banky, meanwhile, is emotional and just rules his life by emotions and has a short fuse. So the story begins at a comic book convention in New York City, where the two are promoting their comic, Blunt Man and Chronic. These are comic characters director Kevin Smith, who also plays Jason Mewes' character Jay's sidekick, Silent Bob. As with all Kevin Smith movies, these are recurring characters who appear in movie after movie after movie after movie. So Holden ends up breaking up a fight between Banky and a trolling fan. This is where it's made clear that Banky is basically dead weight, given a mercy job due to their friendship. It's exposed by the fan that after Holden writes and draws the comic, Banky then retraces the artwork, and that's it. That's all he does. It's a mercy job you give someone with special needs. They attend a panel discussion where they meet Alyssa, Joey Lauren Adams, who's another comic book writer way below the status of Holden and Banky career-wise. Alyssa is friends with a black comic book writer and activist, Hooper, played by Dwight Ewell, who's cosplaying as a black militant revolutionary when in reality, he's an over-the-top, flamboyant homosexual. Yeah, we haven't seen that before. How original. So later that night, the four go out for drinks at a dive bar where Holden is making a move on Alyssa based on their bonding while playing darts. This is the first scene where you get an anti-Catholic vibe. Anti-Catholic, anti-religious vibe. And it's exposed they're playing darts in front of a sign which reads, "And on the 8th day, God created beer." Now, there's constant references to Catholicism throughout this movie as to why they do the dysfunctional things they do and why they have the thoughts they have towards all the taboo topics of the day, and even today, still relevant. And if this was the only reference to God and religion, you wouldn't think anything. You wouldn't think anything of it. But as I said, it gets worse and worse as the movie trolls on. Hooper then invites Holden to a get-together at a bar Alyssa usually goes to. Banky comes along, and while there, Alyssa's asked to sing a song. During the song, though, Banky notices they're actually in a lesbian bar, and that Alyssa is singing the love song to a woman in the audience and not to Holden, who thinks the song is for him. It's also here where more lazy writing from Smith is made evident as he continues to berate the viewer with not even just references, but straight out lifting scenes from other Kevin Smith movies, mostly Clerks, but others as well. This happens over and over and over again, as is the theme in all of Smith's movies. After the song, Alyssa then makes out with another woman in front of Holden. The four of them end up at a table, and Alyssa and Banky have a graphic conversation about sex with women, while Holden sits there like a cuck, visibly shook about Alyssa being a lesbian. Alyssa continues to make out with the girlfriend during the entire conversation, at which point Holden has enough, pulls Banky out of the bar, and so they can leave. Despite all this, Holden realizes Alyssa is from the same area of New Jersey as he is, and the two begin hanging out, and a friendship develops. During their discussions, it's clear that Holden has a very narrow mind on sex between men and women and relationships in general. Their new friendship does not sit well with the homophobic Banky, who dislikes and distrusts Alyssa and is bothered by the relationship that develops between her and Holden. Holden and Banky's business relationship suffers as well. The two have been on the verge of signing a lucrative deal to turn Blunt Man and Chronic into a TV show. And Banky feels that Holden is no longer taking their combined efforts or the TV show seriously, even though it's clear Holden is the driving force behind the comic. After Alyssa shows up unannounced at Holden's apartment, they go for a walk where more graphic sex talk happens. We're talking literal fisting discussion here. Very, very nice. Holden and Banky are then at the train station for a business trip for their comic book. Holden then calls Alyssa from a payphone, and she reveals she wants to hang out with Holden this weekend. Holden then ditches Banky at the train station, telling him he's on his own so he can go hang out with Alyssa. Holden then takes Alyssa to the Jersey Shore to play a little skee ball. We're then bombarded with the customary compilation scenes of Holden and Alyssa hanging out, building a relationship. This is also the first time it's revealed Banky really doesn't like Alyssa, and Alyssa accuses and Holden accuses Banky of gay bashing. In response, Banky tells Holden he's being programmed by her, and it's affecting the comic and their friendship. Banky demands to know what makes Alyssa so special, and Holden reveals he's in love with her, and Banky just walks away. Holden and Alyssa are then eating in a diner with more inane babble we have to suffer through. As is with all Kevin Smith movies, it's amazing that, when you watch these younger, you don't see it. But as you get older and, society changes in front of your face, it's right there. Alyssa then haggles for a painting for sale on the wall at the diner and buys it for $50. It's amazing how poorly written Smith's movies really are. The next scene is in Holden's car. As they drive home in the rain, Alyssa then gives the painting she purchased to Holden so he'll always remember their friendship. Way to be put in the friend zone, dude. Holden then immediately pulls the car over, and Holden reveals his feelings and confesses his love for Alyssa. Alyssa, acting like she hasn't been yanking this guy's chain for weeks, gets angry with him, runs out of the car in the driving rain. Holden chases her like the cuck he is, and they have a fight about their relationship. And she literally says, "What about me?" What about me in response to, why can't we have this relationship if you are having feelings about me? And she's, oh, well, this is easy for you. If it does, you could just walk away. What about me? There's another recurring theme in the movie and in life itself. Holden then walks back to his car, and when he gets there, Alyssa runs up to him and kisses him. And that night, the two end up having sex at Holden and Banky's studio to begin this relationship. Banky walks in the next morning and finds them together sleeping on his couch in the studio. Banky is stunned in the tension between Holden and Banky, who hates Alyssa and knows Alyssa is going to hurt him when the relationship fails. Holden thinks Banky is worried about ruining the comic. And Banky tells him it's not the comic he's worried about, but their friendship. Also in this scene, Banky is seen fawning over high school Catholic school girls who are more anti-Catholic. Messages are revealed, and Catholicism is this oppressive force that's just making us think this way. Alyssa is then seen in her apartment with a bunch of her lesbian friends who are helping her promote her comic when she reveals she's in love but won't give any details. When pressed by her lesbian friends, Alyssa finally reveals she's indeed in love with a man, which is met by clear revulsion from the other lesbians, one even saying, "Another one bites the dust." The next scene is Holden and Alyssa in bed after sex again, where Holden is once again emotional and telling Alyssa how awesome she is and she's the perfect girl and everything a good little cuck says. It's also here Alyssa tells Holden he's the only man she's ever been with. Moving on to the next day, Banky shows Holden Alyssa's high school yearbook, showing the name Fingercuffs under the photo, and reveals he ran across an old friend. He ran across an old friend they both knew, who also grew up with Alyssa, who tells him how she got the nickname. Banky tells Holden that Alyssa had a threesome with that friend and another guy they know, Rick Darris, another reused trope, as is the entire scene as it's filmed in front of the quick check from clerks in high school, which earned her the nickname for getting it from both ends. Holden refuses to believe it and even gets violent with Banky, having believed, based on their conversations about love and sex, he is the first man Alyssa has ever slept with. What a fool. Holden then, of course, goes back to the gay black man for advice, Hooper, who tells him if he wants his relationship with Alyssa to work, he must be honest and truthful and ask Alyssa about her past. Hooper also tells Holden he believes the issue with Banky is that Banky is jealous and in love with him, and that his macho sexual banter is a disguise for his true feelings. So, of course, the message here is if you have any issues with gays or the gay agenda whatsoever, it's because you are actually a closeted homosexual. Do they have an original thought ever? So Holden confronts Alyssa while attending a hockey game, and he baits her into confessing to the threesome, prompting her to storm out of the arena crying as if he's the bad guy. Holden chases her to the parking lot. She tells Holden about her sexual history with men. She apologizes for letting him believe that he was the only man she had been with, which is different than apologizing for lying about it. But she justifies it by saying she could see that he took pleasure in the thought. So basically, I lied about it for you. Holden tries to tell her how she was used by all these guys. Yet Alyssa says, no, I used them. However, she refuses to apologize for her past, and Holden leaves her crying in the parking lot because she can't understand why Holden has no problem sleeping with half the women in New York City, but her sleeping around with men 10 years ago is some kind of deal breaker. She can't grasp it's not about the sex, but the lies. And this scene is just another example of a woman not being able to accept the consequences of her decision as Holden goes home and cries literally. Literally goes home and cries on his couch. Boo, hoo, hoo. Now we're going to move on later. During a lunch at another diner, we finally meet Jay and Silent Bob, Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith, who were the inspiration for the Blunt Man and Chronic comic book characters. Holden gives them their monthly residual pay for the sales of the comic book. Jay can tell there's something wrong with Holden says it's about a girl, to which Jay asks her name, and Holden keeps saying, "You don't know her." But Jay persists and persists, "Just tell me her name." Once Holden tells them her name, Jay and Bob look at each other, and Jay says, "Holy shit, finger cuffs?" Here he confides in them about his troubled feelings and the relationship he's having with Alyssa. Speaking more than one line for the first time, Silent Bob mentions chasing Amy and reveals that he was once in a relationship a couple of years ago, which was similar to Holden's. Despite the fact that he was in love with his girlfriend Amy, he reveals his insecurities about her sexual past caused him to sabotage the relationship and leave her. Angry at himself for letting her go, he has spent every day since then chasing Amy. Now, because Smith is a cuck cosplaying as a prophet here, as if to tell a man you don't need to hold any woman, let alone one you have feelings for, to any standard, especially regarding sex, because that's the square way of thinking, man. And Smith, of course, blames his behavior on being Catholic. Great way to gaslight an entire generation of young men there, Kevin. So, inspired by Silent Bob's story, we're getting to the climax. Inspired by Silent Bob's story, Holden devises a plan to fix both his relationship with Alyssa and his fractured friendship with Banky. He invites them both over and tells Alyssa that he would like her to get over her past and remain her boyfriend. He also tells Banky that he realizes Banky is in love with him, kissing him open mouth to prove the point. Holden suggests that the three of them should have sex with each other in a threesome, so he will no longer be envious of Alyssa's broader experiences, and it will resolve Banky's issues with them as a couple. Banky agrees to participate. Alyssa is appalled and refuses, at which Banky expresses his relief. Alyssa explains to Holden why his plan is wrong. Before leaving, she states that she will always love him, but her past is in the past, and she will not be his whore, and slaps him across the face. Banky then leaves without saying a word. See, it was all right for her to be everyone else's whore, just not his. And nobody's saying whoring is the right thing or this idea was correct. But her logic is completely flawed. So we move on to a year later. The story has Banky busy promoting his own new comic book at a convention in New York. It's revealed that Holden has dissolved their partnership over Blunt Man and Chronic, and giving full rights over to Banky. Banky looks over to see Holden at a distance, who silently congratulates him for his success on the new book. Banky gestures over. Oh, I'm sorry. Banky gestures. Banky gestures over to a booth hosted by Alyssa, who is promoting her own comic, and provides wordless encouragement with a hand gesture implying to come over to Holden and to go talk to her. At which time Holden reveals his new comic, gives her a copy called Chasing Amy, his new comic based on their failed relationship. Holden asks her to contact him. After Holden leaves, Alyssa's girlfriend comes back to the booth to ask who that was. Alyssa casually tosses the comic on the floor behind her and replies, "Oh, that's just some guy I knew." She then turns to sign the next fan's book. And that, my friends, is Cucking for Amy. And the overall theme here is you better drop your conservative Catholic beliefs, or otherwise you will lose the one woman you ever really cared about. How sad. How pathetic. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Societal Narcissism. Take care, everyone.